Alright, so this video is coming at you a whole day late because the day that I decide to fly back, as you can hear, we're back to normal audio quality, everything sounds normal, they decide to go ahead and drop Rasputin. Now, I don't know if this is just for the meme of it like, oh, Rasputin's on rate up over on the JP version and Muramasa's on rate up over on the NA version. I don't know if that's like a meme and that's why they kind of broke the chain of like the Foreigner Saber kind of back and forth thing we usually have for New Year's, but I'm all down for it because I think it's hilarious. What's also hilarious is how good Rasputin actually is. This guy's actually pretty nutty. It's one of those things that you have to read his details a couple of times to really grasp how good this guy is. And once you start looking at everything from like even just the like passives that he's got and the overcharge that he's got, you start combining all of that stuff. You're like, yeah, this guy is pretty solid. So we're going to talk about him in today's video. Unfortunately, he is the new shiny unit. Muramasa is getting pushed off by one day, so he'll be out tomorrow. But I just had to go ahead and talk about this guy because I think he's really, really good. Before we actually begin though, if you have not already, make sure you leave a like on the video and you subscribe to the channel. Usually I am on time with these things when I'm not flying back from vacation, but hey, one day late is fine, right? Come on, you know, don't leave, come on, I'm one day late, come on, bro. But actually, on top of all of this, I am actually going to be summoning for Muramasa tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on my Twitch, which is in the description down below. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of a summon off against a friend of mine. So if you like summon offs and you like seeing people go broke, make sure you come out to that live stream tonight. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and start getting right into this video, starting off with Rasputin's hits. And man, I say it every time, but it's really nice whenever I get to talk about like a new modern servant as opposed to like the low star legend videos, because I'm like, dude, look at this, modern hits. And I mean, his hits are really strong. I mean, he's got 5 hits on both of those quick cards, but unfortunately his star gen is a little low at 10%. You might be able to get a couple of stars here and there, especially with how they buffed like the mighty chains and the quick chains in specific as well. But he's really not a crit servant anyway, so it really shouldn't matter all that much to him. I mean, crits are going to be really nice on those arts cards because even though he has a low 0.42% NP gain stat, he has 4 hit arts cards, and those are going to refund a massive amount of NP because of the high hits if you're able to crit on them. So the idea is that like even though he's not really a crit servant, you can still gen some stars to get crits on those arts cards. As an alter ego, his natural star weight is pretty decent. And I don't know if someone at Lasengle just wants to get in my good graces because they know that I absolutely love Kirei, one of my favorite characters in the series, just because he's a complete goon. Who doesn't love Kirei? They gave him the 5-hit extra attack, and if you don't know, well, it is a new year, and I might need to remind you that the extra attack is a composite card that gen stars, gens NP, and does big boy damage. Although in Rasputin's case, it isn't really going to be doing a whole lot of any of that because his star gen and his NP gain are low, but let me have my moment, alright? With all that being said, let's start getting into some of his skills because these skills are like kind of low-key broken. Like they might look kind of plain, but when you kind of combine them all together and see really what this guy is doing, he looks really nuts. So first and foremost, I find this hilarious because I just put Martha in tier 3 pretty much specifically because she almost has what Rasputin's first skill is. She's able to give an ally a 2k heal, remove all of their debuffs, and give them a 30% attack buff for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. You heard that right. 3-turn 30% attack buff on a 4-turn cooldown, pretty much meaning that attack buff is always going to be up. It's really only ever going to be down for 1 turn unless you use someone like Tamamo or we get some like super Castoria that can also lower cooldown or something like that. But this does a lot for Rasputin. For one, that 2k heal is meant to offset a debuff that he has on his second skill where he has to pay 2000 HP. So that in and of itself is really good. If you're going to use it on himself, it not only makes him really good kind of as like your farming servant, but it also makes him really good in more difficult content because Rasputin can actually do both. Spoiler alert. He's not like the most insane farming servant of all time, but he can get the job done, right? He's like someone you can use. He's not like an A tier farmer, but he's not like C tier. He's like a B tier solid option to go for, right? From what I've seen, at least initially. And then that attack buff is working for both of those, right? It can let him be really good in those CQs because spoiler alert, he's got like the infinite guts that he can do. And then it also makes him really good for farming. So like just a really strong open to this servant, and we're only on the first skill. Moving over to his second skill, this is where things start to get a little bit spicy, and it's also called the Angramanyu skill, so we love to see little callbacks like that. So he's going to be giving himself effectively a 50% battery. I know you see that 30% NP that he's charging to himself, but keep in mind that he also has an additional 20% for evil people that are on the team, including himself, and, well, he's lawful evil, so he's going to get 50%. So, again, really good for challenge quests, really good for farming, because who doesn't love a 50% battery? Just one of the most broken things you can be doing in FGO is just giga charging your NP, so that's really good. I already mentioned that he has the 2k heal to kind of offset this 2k damage that he takes to himself, so that kind of just offsets that if you use the first skill on him. But then he's also going to give himself and any other evil people on the team a 20% arts buff for 3 turns, as long as, again, they're evil. Now, keep in mind that he does have a passive 8% buff for his arts cards, and the overcharge on his NP gives him a 20% arts buff at bare minimum that procs first, meaning that as long as this second skill is up, he has a 48% cumulative arts buff going, basically meaning he's got an arts mana burst. That is basically what it means. So already, my guy has the ability to offset like one of the only demerits that he's got going for him. He can cleanse his own debuffs. He gives himself a 30% attack buff that's going to multiply into like a 48% arts buff. What else is he doing? Well, the third skill, you might have seen this going around because, you know, this is a day late, but basically, the guy can get like infinite guts going. How this skill processes and how it works is that he has one guts that's guaranteed, right? And then the other guts has an 80% proc. If that guts gets going, he'll effectively be immortal, and every time that guts procs with 1 HP, he's going to give himself 20% NP damage for 5 turns, and it's going to continually stack. There is no limit on how many like NP damage buffs he can have, and these guts stack with other guts as well, so it actually works like this. And if it's not just like the icing on the cake, he also taunts himself for 3 turns on a 7-turn cooldown. So this just does like so many things for like Kirei in the team. For one, it basically can make him immortal while also protecting the entire team as long as the enemy's not using AoEs, because they're always going to be attacking him. They're never going to be able to kill him, and then they're also going to be making him stronger. Spoiler alert, Kirei actually has all 4 different buff types, right? So this guy can start getting ridiculous really fast. He's got a very strong attack buff, very strong arts buff, can have an insane NP damage buff, and he has a special damage mod on his NP. So like all of the things that this guy are doing, even from just his like skills, is already nutty enough. Just mentioning the NP, he's also got a special damage mod against evil alignment enemies, guaranteed 150% extra damage that he's doing. He does like the Giga Burn and like the Evil Curse and all that good stuff in case you have other people on the team that need something like that. He can insta-kill good alignment enemies, which is kind of interesting, I guess. And then on the overcharge, he has that arts buff that I was mentioning. He has 4 hits on the NP, which is enough to kind of get him across the finish line if you care about farming. The only annoying thing is that he is an alter ego, and so if you're doing like mixed class nodes, like if it's like say an assassin and a lancer, he can kind of struggle there, but he's really good against other mixed class nodes where it's like say assassin and rider or assassin and caster, because alter egos are super effective against assassins, casters, berserkers, and riders, right? And so it can make him really good for stuff like that. I mean, he's just doing so much. I didn't even mention the fact that he's like passively immune to poison, if that is something that you're worried about. Like, the guy just has so much going for him, and it just makes him really solid. Now, again, like most servants at NP1, you know, he can be a little underwhelming, but even then, I think the fact that he's a more modern servant is kind of showing, because even at NP1, his damage is at like 24k, which ain't bad, especially considering that he's an alter ego. And again, he's super effective against like 4 different classes. So as long as you're smart and you're bringing him against classes that he's super effective against, he'll look really good for you. He'll be really pretty. And so even then, like, I've seen some people complain about like the NP1 Rasputin, but I'm like, no, he's actually pretty solid at NP1. And I think that's just because he's such a modern servant that he just does so much that even at NP1, where it's like quote unquote a little underwhelming, which I don't believe he is, but it makes him still like look good, right? I think that just goes to show how good the guy is, that like even his quote unquote worst, you know, is still impressive. If you go for like NP2 on this guy, he's just an absolute monster, right? As per usual, you get him at NP2, you're going to be absolutely cooking. Again, the only thing that's a little annoying is that if you do summon for him and you want to use him as your farmer, the only thing is that like, oh, you run into like a Saber node, you're kind of getting cooked. Like you're going to be the one getting cooked, not Rasputin cooking anymore. But yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this servant in the comments down below. I think this guy is just absolutely amazing. I was literally reading his details on the flight, like as I was getting ready to land, and I was like, dude, they dropped Rasputin while I'm in the air over here? What the heck? And I was like, oh, dude, this guy's great. And I kept reading his details like as I was continuing to travel, and as I was getting home, I think I read his details like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, this guy just keeps getting better the more and more that I read and comprehend what he's doing, right? So let me know all those thoughts in the comments down below. Again, don't forget to miss out on the summon off that's going to be going on tonight when this video is going up at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Your boy's probably going to get clapped because the person that I'm summoning up against is actually a whale for Muramasa. But, you know, I'm going to try my best. With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace late, guys.